Whether your business has just a single location or 5 or 30 or even more, this video is going to show you the perfect location page blueprint you can use for all your locations to help each one show up right here in the coveted map pack listings. Because when you're here, you get business, simple as that. And since I know how much it helps to see examples, I'm going to show you this perfect page format in action, section by section, with absolutely nothing skipped. So by the end, you'll know exactly what you need to include on your location pages, even if it's just one. And this is the exact format I've used for years, and it works amazingly well, right? Much better than any other version I've ever tried out. And this does take into account all of the latest ranking factors that Google prioritizes when deciding which businesses to show and in what order. So let's just get right into the blueprint. Okay, so before we get to the actual page itself, the first step here is actually to fill out your Google My Business completely, adding all your locations under the same account. And then from there, you need to pick out your primary category. In this case, we're going to pretend to be an accounting firm, and that's the one we chose as our primary. And then you're also going to want to go through the step of choosing additional categories that people might be searching as well. So we came up with accountant, certified public accountant, tax preparation, and tax consultant. So once you've chosen these, you just want to write them down and make sure you're getting the exact verbiage. So accountant, not accounting, for instance, right? So just make sure they're all written down somewhere safe, and then we can go to our location page right here. The first thing I want to say about any good location page is remember that it is often going to be the entry point into your website for a lot of people when they're doing those local searches. So don't do the thing that everybody else does, which is treat these pages like an afterthought that are purely there for the Google bots to crawl through, and then they completely, they design them just to not look really great. They don't have persuasive copy and messaging. So really, you want to treat these almost like they're home pages. And in fact, if you only have one location, this might be your homepage. That's totally fine to do it that way. And I would also say if you have multiple locations, but you have one that's your main location, you could do that as your homepage and then create, variations on that for your different locations that are, less important to your business. Okay, so let's take a look at exactly what we've got going on here. So starting with our top section, the hero section, what we have here is a heading that uses Denver accounting firm, because remember, accounting firm was our major category. And in this case, we're a Denver company, so it's a Denver accounting firm specializing in small businesses like yours. But this is the part that is important for the location SEO. But here's the thing. A lot of companies would put that kind of text right up here, Denver accounting firm, which is just kind of like, okay, I get what you're doing there. It's good for SEO, but it's not enticing in any way. It doesn't tell your customers or your clients what you do for them. So what I recommend, this is my little workaround, there is nothing that says that this text can't be designated as the important headline on your page. This looks like the important headline because it's bigger, but through coding, and if you have something like Elementor, you just choose this text and you just make that your what we call H1 tag. That's the most important one on the page. That's how I do it. So this would be an H2, believe it or not, and then this would be the H1. So the main thing to keep in mind here is you want to use your primary category name and your city name in the H1. The other thing you want to do here is you want to make sure that this background image is named with that keyword phrase and city as well. So I might name this image Denver accounting firm.jpg with hyphens between each word. I would also give it alt text that says Denver accounting firm. And you just put in the alt text in WordPress on the back end. It's very easy to do. You do it as soon as you upload the image. Okay, so now let's go down to section 2. So this can really be any kind of text. I'm not going to tell you what the content of this section has to be, but I'll tell you what should be included. We've got an H2 headline here. Remember, there's only ever one H1 on any given page. So this is an H2. And what we're doing is we're reusing accounting firm and Denver. Now the trick here is really to make it not feel and read as spammy. So one of my favorite tricks to get the actual category name with the city name together is to say something like this, like we're the accounting firm Denver Businesses Trust. It's pretty much always worked for me, and it's just a clever way of putting those two phrases together and still having it read well. Then from there, we have all this text. So if you'll notice, I've kind of put everything in blue. These are not links, I'm just putting them in blue so that you can see them. So what I'm really doing here is I'm trying to use words like accounting and firm and Denver as much as I can in this text. It doesn't have to always appear together because again, what we don't want to do is have our content read as spammy. So just do your best. Include the city names several times. And what we're trying to do here is really have this all within the first 150 words on the page. Because what Google does is they definitely put preferential treatment on the stuff that's front loaded on the page. The higher up your keywords are on your page, the more value Google tends to assign to it. So if you use the same phrase up top and then use the same phrase way down the page, the one way down the page is just gonna get a little less SEO juice out of it. So what I recommend doing is writing this for people first and then trying to find the opportunities where you can layer in your keyword phrases. Again, keeping in mind what we're going for here in this second section is still our primary category, okay? You'll do that, and then you'll also take this image and you will do all that, and then you're also gonna do the same thing with this image that we talked about. So you're gonna give that a different file name. So if this one were denveraccountingfirm.jpg, maybe this is accountingfirmdenver.jpg or accountingfirmdenvercolorado.jpg. You generally don't want to use the same file names. In fact, you can't use the same file. You can't name your image the same thing twice. It's not going to work. And then you're also going to want to mimic the name of the file in the alt text. So the alt text here would be accounting firm Denver, Colorado. Now let's go down to section 3. Now this is where we're going to start layering in our additional categories. So remember, we have accountant, certified public accountant, tax prep, and tax consultant. So all we're really looking for is ways to use any of these as well as our city name when we can. So we've got certified public accountant, we've got Denver, and by the way, I didn't make these blue because it just didn't work in the page building software I was using to do it that way, but I'll just highlight them as we go. So Denver, certified public accountant, tax preparation, Denver tax consultants, right? Denver again. So basically, again, write it for people, whatever section this would be, and find your opportunities to add in those additional categories. And then you'll notice here we have a YouTube video. This is gold for SEO. So what you can do is create any kind of a video. It could be an about us video or a testimonial. And then what you want to do ideally is use your business name followed by your city name and your primary business category. You could also do your secondary business category, but I like to really use my YouTube videos strategically, and the best way to do that is generally to highlight your primary category you're going after. Okay, so now let's move on to the next section. So what I've done here is basically just taken a services section and used it to my full advantage here. So again, what this headline could have said was just what we offer, but instead, accounting services we offer to Denver businesses, right? Tax consultant, right? That's one of our things here. Tax preparation, it's another one. Bookkeeping, we didn't actually have that, but if we did, that would be another one right there. And you can also repeat these words in the text here. If you wanted to, like we've got tax preparation right here, got tax consultant right here, bookkeeping right here. So again, make sure it reads well, but the more you can kind of repeat these phrases, the better. And what you'd also want to do is make sure that each of these images, again, named for the service, I would call this one tax consultant denver.jpg. tax preparation denver.jpg, and bookkeeping denver.jpg. And the same thing goes for the alt text. Okay, so now we get to, this is really interesting. This is kind of a little lesser known SEO play for local businesses, and that is to strategically use your testimonials and your reviews. So what you can do here is you can really strategically pick reviews that use the words that you want to use, that you want to rank for, like accountant, bookkeeping, tax preparation, if you have them. But my best advice here is to just use the testimonials that sell you the best. Don't worry so much about cramming in extra keyword phrases because you can put them in somewhere else. And this section is really important for, getting people to take action. So choose the best ones, but if you're ever torn between two and one has a phrase and one doesn't, then it's just a little bit of icing on the cake. But where things get really interesting is you can always just add the city name after each person, assuming your testimonial subject lives in the city you're trying to rank for, pop it in there. It's good. This is good for, so we've got Denver 3 additional times thanks to that. And that takes a little bit of the stress off of trying to cram it in where it's a little less natural. Okay, moving right along. So frequently asked questions, FAQs. This is a great place to be able to work in some of your keyword phrases. So wherever they make sense, you got Denver here, you've got tax consultant here. So certified public accountant, you'll see I've kind of putting the phrases in here where I can. Not saying to stuff it, again, make sure it reads naturally, but it's just another good opportunity to be able to slot some of those in there. Okay, so now we get to, basically, this is where you can insert some longer form content that's really written more for SEO than for people. So what we have up till now, everything else here is designed for human eyes and to be persuasive. We're layering in our phrases and our city name where we can, as long as it reads well. But once people get down to a certain point, now we can have a little bit more leeway just to have this nuts and bolts text that maybe you have an SEO company write for you that's a little more strategic, just trying to get the number of keywords in there that you need to realistically outrank your competition. So if you're going to go with an SEO company, they would take a look at how many times your competitors are using these words, and they would basically try to outdo it. But I do want to stress this should come down at the very bottom of the page. You can even add in extra images. Just imagine there's an image right here that's named, with another keyword phrase you want to rank for, another business category, another instance of your city name, for instance. Okay, so now we have another section that's very important. This is the footer of the website. This is where you're going to put in all the information that's going to really align exactly with what you've already put on your Google My Business profile. So what we have here, I'll go through everything one by one. We have your business name in text, not just your logo. A lot of companies would just put a logo here, but you want it written out exactly the way it's written out in your profile. Then you're going to use your primary category name and your area you're trying to rank, Denver, Colorado here. Then you're going to put your address exactly as it's listed on Google My Business for each location. So again, for every location you have, you're going to make this page. And this needs to be written exactly the way it's written in Google My Business. So for instance, if that is formatted to say ST, no period, you would mimic that exactly. I like to just copy and paste it right from my listing and don't change anything about it. Consistency is key here. You're going to do the same for your phone number. Write it out the same way, which is usually, area code in parentheses, then 555-1212. Then you want to write out your hours as you've listed them exactly in Google My Business. Specifically, they do it in this format where it's every day written out. It's not just Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. It's every single day listed out. Then, so if you have more of these location pages, you would want to link to each of them here. So in this fictitious example, let's say we have a location in Denver, one in Boulder, and then one in Tacoma, Washington. So each of these would link to those separate location pages. It just really helps Google out when you're linking between all your pages. Internal linking is important. And last but not least, we have a Google map embedded in our site here. So This is again going to be from location to location specific. So for every location you have, so the Denver one would have a map, the Boulder one would have its own map, Tacoma would have its own map with the exact address as listed over here. Now, if you're really serious about your Google rankings as a local business, I've got just the thing. It's my ultimate Google ranking kickstart kit. So just click right here to get your hands on it. Now, this has my perfect SEO blueprint, the Google My Business Success Checklist, and the Profitable Keyword Research Workbook. So click right here and it's all yours.